So if you're a reader of this publication called The Block, it turns out that Sam Bankman-Fried over FTX was paying the CEO a ton of money. The CEO has hence resigned in disgrace. We're talking about in the millions of dollars. And surprise, surprise, there's corruption in this market. And this you're going to hear a lot of these kind of stories of corruption and this kind of stuff. So I'm not surprised at this point. I'm just sort of like waiting for the finalists to be drafted. That may or may not be soon. Sam Bankman-Fried is going to be testifying in front of Congress, saying, "Hey guys, I didn't mean to like lose everyone's money, steal everyone's money. I never planned to be a scammer." It's going to be those kind of things. But one thing that I'll mention with you guys, and this is very real, he's just giving money to everybody. And if you are taking this money and turning a blind eye, you are implicated in this stuff. And it's an interesting thing because whenever you talk about these issues, some people like to pretend that he only gave money to certain groups when in fact he's given money to a lot of different people. And I mention that is because you can see headlines here. Sam Bankman-Fried says he donated just as many millions to Republicans as Democrats, but didn't publicize it because reporters would freak the F out. And so I actually made a video about this topic about a couple weeks ago. I can put a link in the description you got or whatever. I'll put a link and you guys can click on it later. But here's the thing of where people like to turn a blind eye, where, I mean, I see it guys all over the internet. People are like, oh, he only gave money to Democrats. Democrats are so evil. And it's like, come on, guys. Let's just be real about this stuff. He gave money to both sides. He gave money to celebrities. He gave money to athletes. He gave money to a lot of YouTubers, stuff like that. And now he's giving money to publications. And so, I'm fine with people having an opinion, but just making crap up, I'm not cool with. And I just want you guys to live in reality as well. He's given money to a lot of different groups, and now he's testifying in front of Congress. One of the things that I always say about this kind of stuff is play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So why do I say that? I saw this thing as well. This is a Coinbase deal. There's going to be a ton of lawsuits regarding cryptocurrency and these kind of things. And I guess there's lawsuits against Coinbase, and the Supreme Court's going to take a look at it. But the one that caught my eye where I was saying play stupid games, win stupid prizes, is Dogecoin is part of this. It says one suit involves a Dogecoin sweepstakes contest. So, I mean, there are different levels of cryptocurrency. For me, all of it's no good. However, there are different sort of varieties of no good. And I would say Dogecoin is towards the top of that no good chart. And, you got to know that it was a complete sort of, I guess, pump and dump going into this thing. And, people are still going to sue over this stuff. And also, too, full disclosure, we've talked about before many times on the channel where even Elon Musk was a pumper of Dogecoin, and he's also facing lawsuits over this stuff. I know I can't keep a straight face when I talk about these things because it's so ridiculous. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And here's another one. It is another example. And actually, Crypto.com actually emailed me to do some sort of partnership. I declined, but there's a lot of money on this kind of stuff, right? So I get it. People take the money, but again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And you take a look at the CEO here. He had a history of bankruptcy, quick exits, as the headlines say, and it was the same with Sam Bankman-Fried. Because people often ask me, how did you see the FTX thing coming? All you had to do was open your eyes, and a lot of people they closed their eyes and took the money. And again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I know I'm going to keep repeating that same over and over again. I'm reading the headline in the market today. You can read this here. Market wakes up to the fact that Fed pivot could signal recession. It's like, our markets are so funny. The headline is market wakes up, like as if like market's like a bunch of dummies. The thing with the stock market is funny because like we kind of know what the fundamental value of stuff should be, right? The problem is like, when you see basically, digital assets that are basically worthless going to the moon, it kind of sends your whole mind out of whack because you're like, well, I know it's not worth anything, yet my eyes see that the chart is going up. So I must be crazy or something like that. And this is sort of why the market is nutso, because nothing makes sense. I mean, this doesn't make sense. Like, why are people buying, coins with dogs on it? I mean, how does that make any sense? And then, of course, too, the market's been rallying, but everything's been pointing to that we're going to have a recession and things are going to be crashing. So it is what it is. And, it's funny because I think a lot of people are sort of trying to figure out, okay, where is my spot in this crazy, crazy world? For example, you can take a look at Senator Kirsten Sinema. And actually, someone was actually mentioning her in comments a couple days ago. I'm not as familiar with her. I looked her up very quickly. She's a smart person. I can figure that out very fast. She's leaving the Democratic Party, which is really quite interesting. And for those of you who are haters on the Democrats, yeah, she's absolutely smart. She's totally leaving. But in fact, she's turning independent. And the thing that's really quite interesting is we may see more people doing this to where like they just don't want to be affiliated with a particular party because maybe they see the winds changing where voters are turning sour on both parties. We'll see if that happens. Tulsi Gabbard is it Gabbard or Gabbard? You guys write in the comments. She also left the Democratic Party. She was sort of more of a high profile one. I actually had a lot of friends who were really down with Tulsi. I had one friend who was like trying to how can I say, posting stuff on social media positive about her all of the time. She's an interesting one because people always ask me about my opinions on her. I'm not a huge fan myself, and if you like her, that's no problem. You're a free country. Mostly because I just think she's needs some more experience, and the other thing is whenever she answers a question, the joke is that she always answers in some way that she served in the military. So if you actually watch the debates, it is true. But, go for it. More power to her. And I do like to see different people in politics. And I wouldn't mind seeing a shakeup in terms of more independence and people coming out and saying, you know what, we don't necessarily need to have a two-party system. So we'll see. Andrew Yang is another one. And I'm just putting this in context of Kyrsten Sinema leaving the Democratic Party. He left the party a while ago, and he formed his new thing called I think what was he calling it? I think it was like the Forward Party, I believe. And one of the big things with Andrew Yang, there's two, obviously, was the UBI, which is the Universal Basic Income, which basically means just give money to people. And the other one, which I'm not a big fan of, I'm just flat out, I'm not a big fan of that. The other one, though, which I am a big fan of, though, he's proposed an open primary, and the basic gist would be instead of say, Democrats only vote for Democratic candidates in the primary and Republicans vote for Republicans in the primary. Let's have an open primary where we, can vote for any candidates. And I think why not? I think that's an interesting thing. He's also put into focus, like we could do a ranking sort of thing. One of the things that I mentioned before on this channel is well, the way our system works is, and it's been like this since I started voting, to be perfectly frank. There's always someone I like in the primary, and they never actually make it through the general. And then I always look back and I'm like, okay, fine, I don't like either candidate, but I'll go for the one which I like better, but I don't necessarily like either candidate. It's been like that for a long time. So in terms of like, will Semena's leaving the Democratic Party shake up the politics in the U.S.? Probably not that much. But it is a news story, and we are talking about it. The other thing is, too, which I think is interesting as well, talking about shakeups, is we're going to see a lot more of this kind of stuff going forward. This is a battery. Was it a battery plant? I think this is in Detroit. They're unionizing. And essentially, this is all about money, guys. And everything, the whole world is about money. Who doesn't know that? But workers need to get paid more because things cost more, right? Be it your rent, be it your fuel, this kind of stuff. And it was interesting because this chart I wanted to show you guys in particular, though, not only we're going to see more workers, looking to unionize, we're also going to see sort of different jobs pop up in different sectors as some jobs will disappear for some sectors. So, for example, the crypto industry is going to really face a beating. Obviously, they're going to have a lot of firings and stuff like that. But something like alternative energy jobs, I think these kind of jobs are going to be the ones where you want to be in because there's going to be a lot of opportunity. And this is just an interesting chart of where, like, you can see this is where the workforce of the vehicle, was it electric vehicle and battery workforce is set to soar, is what they say. But basically, there's going to be more jobs in this sector. I think mechanics who are going to be working on these new kind of vehicles as well, or need to get trained in this kind of stuff. I think there'll be opportunity there. And I know we have different people in our community on the channel that work in the car industry. So love to hear your thoughts as well. Are you hiring, not hiring? And always, share some thoughts with people because there's going to be tough going forward next year when unemployment is set to go up. Now, also going on next year is quite interesting is the housing market. I was reading this article and basically the Lennar, they got a whole bunch of inventory and they need to move it. And they're trying to figure out who to dump it onto. Basically, they got 5,000 homes, and it's interesting because the average price of these homes, they're trying to sell it to people here. The average price is 400. Yeah, average price of a Lennar home was 491,000. They got 5,000 of these things, and the other thing too is they're saying there's a bunch of these homes. They're in the Southwest and the Southeast, and my understanding of this when I'm looking at it is they're talking about dumping these onto sort of like your bigger landlords, and they're going to use those as rentals. And it's interesting because I want to put this together with some Redfin projections we're going to take a look at now. For those of you who are in the housing market, what's going to be happening. Well, let's take a look in terms of some projections according to Redfin. They have a bunch of these, and we'll go through them each. And love to hear you guys' opinion on this stuff as well. And again, put this in context of like where are the buyers coming from? Are people going to be renting or not? Or are people going to be in the market to buy a home? So prediction number one is home sales will fall to their lowest level since 2011 with a slow recovery in the second half of the year. So if home sales are going to be going down, then most likely, right, prices will be going down because demand will be down. So, if you look at the Lennar thing put together with this, that means Lennar's got this inventory they're trying to dump, but, maybe people don't have any money. Prediction number two, they're saying mortgage rates will decline, ending the year below 6%. So this is actually pretty big news for anyone who's in the market. And I'm sure you guys know this, like each little, uptick or downtick in mortgage rates affects the payments that you make quite a bit. And so, again, guys, this is a prediction in the future. No one knows 100%, but this is to give you just some sort of an idea, especially if you're in the market right now and considering it. I do expect home prices to come down because, interest rates are going up. You guys know that. But this is saying, hey, end of the year, below 6%. Prediction number three, and again, I think this is end of the year, this is 2023, so next year. Prediction number three, home prices will post their first year-over-year decline in a decade, but the U.S. will avoid a wave of foreclosures. So they're kind of aggressive on that one. I'm not sure if I agree with that because I know unemployment's going to go up. So they're saying, right, the home prices are going to come down, but they don't think necessarily people are going to struggle making their payments. So that is anyone's guess on that one. I'm going to disagree with them on that one, but that's why I was looking at this because you want to get more than one opinion, not just mine, get other people's opinions as well. Prediction number four, Midwest and Northeast will hold up best as the overall market cools. So the Midwest one is interesting because if you look at, like, for example, the West, or these specific places, if you look at like a Boise, Idaho, or you look at like in Florida, say Miami, or you look at like in Arizona, for example, those markets just like basically really, really bubbly, right? Went up like crazy, whereas the places in the Midwest didn't go up as quite so much. So they're going to argue that the Midwest is not going to come down as much. And the Northeast is really interesting. So like, for example, say like in New York, stuff like that. We were just talking about Manhattan yesterday with, or a couple days ago with the Aaron Judge, he got like a huge, massive, $360 million contract. There's some markets where it just doesn't seem like they're going to come down. So they're just saying that Midwest and Northeast, you may not be seeing as big a decline as, say, as other areas. Also, too, prediction number five, rents will fall and many Gen Zers and young millennials will continue renting indefinitely. So even though rents will come down, they're saying that young people still won't have enough money or be in a position to buy a home. And we've talked about these numbers before, to where young people in the past, it was like, 34% would be in a home, whereas these days it's more like in the 20s. So they're just saying even though rents are coming down, the young people are still going to be renting. Prediction number six, this is going, again, predictions for 2023. Builders will focus on multifamily rentals. So this stuff is an interesting thing. And in fact, depending on the city that you live in, you may or may not have voted in this kind of stuff. Like, for example, when I was in LA, we would vote on, what should be the maximum height of buildings, meaning that if you can build big towers, you could then, put more people into said towers, and you could use the land a little bit more efficiently in terms of building, multifamily housing. So they're saying they're going to build more of these things. One of the things that's been a big problem recently, and I remember looking at charts on it, I can't dig up any right now, but I can tell you I've seen them, is that there's not enough starter homes being built in the country, meaning that if you're a young person, you're looking for like, we'll just say like 1,000 square feet, single bedroom or two bedroom, just, a smaller home. There's not that many of them actually, and there's not enough inventory. And so what's interesting is I guess we're not building those. I guess because again, we're not building enough starter family homes. However, it looks like the builders are more interested in building, say, multifamily rentals, which is really quite interesting. So it's still going to be difficult for young people to buy a home when you read all these predictions, put it together. Prediction number seven, investor activity will bottom out in the spring and then rebound. And so again, this was an issue that we talked about with Blackstone or any of these big companies where they're coming in and buying tons of stuff. And this is sort of why I showed you that Lennar the article first, to where, like, to give you a general sense of like, hey, there's a bunch of this inventory, and right now they're kind of shifting stuff around. And my understanding, a lot of these big companies, they were paying way too much money Like for example, like a Zillow, they were in. For those of you who had experience with Zillow, please chime in. But sort of these, I think they called them, was it you buy kind of things? They would come, or I buy, I think is a better way to say it. It was not I buy, yeah, it's I buy, not you buy, it's I buy. But basically, they were coming in and making cash offers to people for their houses, and paying exorbitant prices. And then when the market crashes, they have all this inventory and they can't sell it for what they bought it for. So it's a real problem for them. But they're saying investor activity is going to bottom out in the spring, so this will be next year, and then rebound. Prediction number 8, Gen Zers will seek jobs and apartments in relatively affordable mid-tier cities. That's an interesting thing because basically, if you guys know this, right, so there's certain cities that are really expensive, be it LA, San Francisco, be it like in New York, this kind of stuff. And then, young people could go to a mid-tier city, right, not as big of a city, and get more affordable things. So they're saying that's essentially where the market's going to be moving. So you could see upticks in rents and those kind of things because like the markets need to balance out, right? San Francisco will come down in rent theoretically, but that money will move to somewhere else, right? So this is sort of how markets go, supply and demand. You guys know these things. Prediction number 9, migration from one part of the country to another will ease from the pandemic boom. So they're saying, so it's funny because they're saying two different things here. They're saying one is the young people are going to maybe move to the more cheaper cities because they can't afford to live in the bigger cities. And then they're saying number 9 is that people as a whole aren't necessarily going to be moving around the country. So they're saying a couple different things on there, but it just kind of shows, and this is also true, that young people tend to be more mobile than older people, especially when you guys have families. It's much harder to move. I can tell you I moved a lot more when I was younger than I'm gonna be older. Now that I'm married, you guys are married, I know. And now I'm married, it's a lot different. You talk to someone else like where you want to go, opposed to just moving yourself. Prediction number 10: rising disaster insurance costs will make extremely climate risky homes even more expensive. Now this is a really interesting one. So basically, if you're like in a flood zone in Florida, or you're on a like a mudslide zone in California, or maybe like for example a fire zone, that's very real in California. The insurance prices are going to be through the roof. So it could be tornado alley kind of places as well. But they're just saying insurance costs are going to be expensive, and I think that's a real thing. It's funny, when I was a kid, I always wanted to live on the ocean, but now where we live now, we're in Busan. We live near the ocean. But you don't necessarily need to live like literally right on the ocean because of this kind of thing, be it flooding, be it hurricanes, tsunamis, this kind of stuff. Me personally, I don't want to mess with that stuff. And evidently, insurance companies are going to make you pay if you do want to mess with that stuff. Prediction number 11: more cities will follow Minneapolis, and this is yes in my backyard, is what it stands for. Example: to curb housing expenses. The basic gist of it has to do with zoning, and the idea is that before. You could have sort of areas that would be, this is single family housing only, but they're rezoning it to where you could have a mix of single family housing and multifamily housing in the same spots, and that therefore reduces rents. So it would be interesting if we continue this. Some people, right? This, to be real, some people, if they live in a single family home, they don't want to have an apartment complex next to them, right? So this is sort of like rezoning stuff to mix those things in together, and that overall reduces rents. Love to hear you guys' thoughts on those kind of things. Prediction number 12: buyers' agent commissions will rise slightly as fewer agents broker fewer deals at lower prices. So that's pretty interesting. One of the things that I think that is going to happen regarding agents' commissions is, and you guys see this quite a bit on YouTube and things like that, where all the people are saying, hey, real estate's the get rich quick scheme, and you all can be real estate agents, this kind of thing. In a hot market, it seems like that, right? And one of the things that has always bothered me about all of this sort of real estate classes and stuff like that you'll see on YouTube is oftentimes the people who sell these things are based in markets that are hot, right? So for example, if you're like in an LA market, let's say the last couple of years, yeah, you could do really quite well. But selling, classes from someone who's in LA to someone else who's in a different city that may not represent that kind of, hot market, it's going to be tough. And I think, as this is saying, they're saying fewer agents broker fewer deals at lower prices. Everything is going to cool. So, my personal thing, I have never dreamed about being a real estate agent. It's not something that I would want to do, but I understand a lot of people are interested in this kind of thing. But if you are, I think, as it's saying here, they're saying that the market is going to cool and this kind of stuff. And you put all this stuff together, there's a lot of different things you talk about when you do talk about real estate. But the main one is, what are interest rates doing do people have jobs and do people have money, right, to buy said things? Also, to what is the inventory and what are people looking for? So this has been your daily news. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any one of these stories. Always appreciate you guys' time, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.